All right, we've had a couple more people join, but it's going to slow down, so we will get started. Again, welcome to our Open Office Hours series for NetSuite. We are going to cover some of the Release 21.1 new features, and let's just get started. So my name is Alejandro Alvarez. I'm a senior manager with Crowe. I've been with Crowe a couple of years, but I have about 9 years of NetSuite experience. Joining me today for our webinar is Debbie Smith. She's a manager with our team. Preeti Kandur, she's a senior consultant for our team, both functional consultants. And Tapendra Singh, he's a software architect, a technical consultant with our team. They'll introduce themselves as they start their part, but I wanted to recognize them for joining us in this webinar today. To go over the agenda, we're going to quickly remind ourselves of what the new release process is, a quick overview of that. And then we're going to cover these areas that we have here. Accounting and banking will be covered by Debbie. Order management, procure to pay, and inventory management will be covered by myself. Preeti will cover Suite Analytics, and Tapendra will cover Suite Cloud new features and enhancements. And we'll go very quickly through a reminder of the resources that are available so that you all can read and learn more about the enhancements and the new features. And finally, if there are any questions, we'll look at those questions. There were questions submitted online during the registration. We'll address those as well at the end. And just to set the stage, we are going to talk about a lot of the features. We're going to show you some screenshots of the features and discuss the benefits. Fortunately, with demo accounts, we can't get any more a release preview account with demo accounts, and we certainly don't want to use our clients' release preview accounts for this demo. So if there's anything that you want to see live, please contact us, and we certainly will glad to set up something where we're not navigating through the system. You all should either be on the new version already, or probably or have access to the new release as of now. So quickly to go over the overview. So all of accounts in NetSuite are on the same release, and twice a year in early spring and early fall, everybody gets upgraded. NetSuite will let you know through the new release portlet when you're going to get upgraded, and it's now rolling out. It's rolled out the option for you to reschedule that if that time doesn't work for you. So just be alert of that. If you're not upgraded yet, when you're going to be upgraded, the upgrade happens usually Friday to Saturday morning, and takes scheduled 4 hours, but typically takes a couple of hours. And along the way, you've seen scheduled maintenance that's happened so that the environment gets ready. The other thing you'll notice is that through this time, even though this is a very unique and patented process, it also as NetSuite keeps growing, you'll see a little bit of a slowdown during this cycle because NetSuite is migrating all the accounts, and so one of the benefits is everybody's on the same release, but it comes with a little bit of pain sometimes. Hopefully, the new features alleviate that and get you in, with a lot of cool functionality that you have available immediately, and then you can test to the new release, the release preview process. A reminder also that you now have to opt in to the release preview process. So it's that the instructions are in your portlet, your release portlet. So whenever you are looking to deploy that, you have to go through a couple of steps to do that, so that you can use it. With that said, I'm going to turn it over to Debbie Smith, who will talk about accounting and banking.
Thanks, Alejandro. As mentioned, I'm currently a manager with Crowe. My previous experience includes 10 years as being a controller, 3 of those with NetSuite. And I've been a functional consultant for NetSuite for approximately 2 years now. Next slide. As mentioned, I'll be reviewing the new features for accounting and banking. In the next several slides, I'll go into more detail for advanced numbering, account record names, fixed asset management, and enhancements to bank imports. I will not review notable mentions, but we'll mention a little bit about them. The localization enhancements They include reporting for specific countries, as well as enhancements for China, France, and Germany. For advanced revenue management, this includes new behavior for unbilled receivables and new accounting preferences for deferred revenue. If you use advanced revenue management, you'll want to check those out. Balancing by segments, there's a new balanced by segments field, which is available in search transactions and Suite Analytics workbooks. Under deprecations, these include the reconciled bank statement and credit card statement pages. I will discuss those a bit later in the presentation. Next. For advanced numbering, I think this is pretty exciting because you'll be able to create specific numbering rules for both documents and transactions. Similar to what you have now, you'll be able to use both a prefix and a suffix. However, they'll be included in a rule and combined with other sequences and/or criteria. In addition, you'll be able to use expressions for fiscal year, month, or day. After you've enabled a new rule, NetSuite will migrate the existing numbering settings. Documents that you'll be able to apply this to include cash refunds, cash sales, deposits, journal entries, POs, and a few others. The transactions include bills, bill credits, credit cards, and credit card refunds. Next. In order to set up advanced numbering, you'll first need to enable the feature, which is located in the ERP General section on the Company tab. Next, you'll need to go to the Setup Auto-Generated Numbers page, which is located under Setup and Company. On the left-hand side, which is the current screen, you have document type followed by the prefix, suffix, and minimum digits. In the new release, as you can see, there's an additional column with checkboxes next to the document types. If you want to create advanced numbering for a certain document type, you check the box and click on Save. Next. Once you click on Save, you'll notice a new setup link is referenced in the left picture of the screen. In this example, I selected Cash Refund. When you click on the setup link, you're directed to the advanced numbering rule, which is on the right-hand side. This is where you can set up your numbering format. In this example, I put in an expression, I know it's hard to see, for the month and year and a suffix. And then minimum digits, I left the default at 1, and I entered an initial number of 50. As you enter this information in tab, you'll get a number preview. In this instance, you see the 042150 test for a number. The 0421 is the month and the year as indicated in the prefix. The initial number is 50, and the test is the suffix. In addition to the numbering rule, you can create unique sequences for subsidiaries, locations, or fiscal year. You can also set up criteria to select any combination of standard or field custom types to apply the rule. These include subsidiary, posting period, memo, location, date, or currency. As you can see, this new feature provides a lot more flexibility in numbering your documents. Next. When creating a saved search involves accounts, the name of the account will no longer contain the number. The example on your left shows a current saved search for accounts. As you'll notice, both the name and the display name fields are exactly the same. In the new release, as indicated on the right-hand side, you will notice that the name field does not include the account number. Therefore, if you're using the accounts in a saved search, you'll need to include the display name column for that saved search. Next. So now we'll discuss a few changes in fixed assets management. One of the most notable changes includes the tax methods tab, which will be removed from the asset record page. The information in that tab, which is the alternate depreciation method, it will now be available in the depreciation history sub-tab at the far right. Another change is that failed reports will no longer be shown on the My Reports page. And then, as you may or may not have noticed, there are abbreviations in the saved searches, as indicated in the red box on the right-hand side. In this example, the word disposal is abbreviated. In the new release, the abbreviations will be changed to full words. So, next. All right, bank import enhancements. As you know, if there's an issue for one bank or credit card account during the import process, it will cause the entire import to fail, and the error logs will not provide clear indicators to identify which account caused the issue. These areas have been addressed in the new release. As an example, there's a new status for partially completed imports. This status applies to imports in the NetSuite. This status applies to imports in which NetSuite did not successfully retrieve the data. There's also account-specific import errors, so that you'll be able to zero in on the issue in a timely fashion. Previously, imported data was not visible until processing was complete. In the new release, you'll be able to view the imported lines as they're being processed. They will be dimmed and you cannot select them, but at least you'll have an idea of the activity that is being processed. In the new area, you'll be using the match bank data page for this. NetSuite will also give you an email notification for partially completed imports, as well as the failed and completed ones. The email also contains troubleshooting information as well as next steps. For clearing accounts, as you know, currently the only way to mark account transactions that don't have matching imported lines is in the bank register. And this is what happens when you use the deprecated reconciled bank statement and credit card statement pages. Now you'll be able to do this on the match bank data page. Next. As a reminder, the reconciled bank statement and credit card statement pages will be deprecated, and you'll receive the notice as displayed on the left-hand side of the page. Though the pages will still be accessible, they're scheduled for removal in a future release. Therefore, you should adopt the redesigned bank reconciliation feature as soon as possible when you get this new release. On the right-hand side is a pic of the bank importing history. As you can see, in the red boxes, it shows the partially completed status as well as account-specific errors. And I know those will be a great help in the future. All right, that concludes the accounting and banking new features. Now back to Alejandro.
Thank you, Debbie. We're now going to go through order to cash, and I'll start now. So order to cash, is one of the probably strongest areas of NetSuite, and some of the areas are divided into the actual order management, and the other ones are I'm going to talk about in the inventory management. I think the main three that I noticed that are pretty cool are there's a new sales management, sales channel feature to be able to track sales by sales channel, which is different than your class segment. This has more inventory management implications. There's a concept of a reservation order to be able to reserve inventory for future orders that your customers are going to place, but they haven't really placed the formal order yet. And there's a new order management dashboard that allows you to have better visibility to the different aspects of your order management process. Additionally, there's some notable mentions where there's some enhancements to the dunning letter process. If you're not aware, dunning letters is a module of NetSuite that allows you to automate the collections process by automatically sending emails and invoices and statements based on certain rules. So there's some enhancements to make that process more efficient. Suite billing, new features. There's some features regarding usage and separation of usage records, which is basically if you're billing not only fixed fee, recurring billing, but also by consumption. And that is a newer module. The suite billing is a newer module, but there's some cool features there. On the deduction and charge management, it's a suite app that allows you to automatically manage the deductions when you're going through your AR process all in one screen. So there's some improvements there as well as invoice group enhancements. And there's a new ACH payment instruments object, which allows you to automate the ACH payment process. As you know, with electronic banking today, if you have an electronic banking module in NetSuite, you can download a file and then upload it to the bank via CSV, via the master file, sorry. And if you have coastal software, it automates that ACH process for you. That's Coastal Software is a third-party tool. With the ACH payment instrument, it will open up to other payment processors, just like you would do with your credit card, to be able to process payments via ACH using that ACH payment instrument. And there are no important deprecations on the order management process. Well, sales channel management, there's a new feature that you can enable features and under items and inventory that allows you to track inventory and reserve and allocate inventory by sales channel. And this will become another dimension on your sales order that you can select there. And then when you're running your allocation rules, and we'll talk about allocation and supply planning in the inventory section, but when you're running that, you can use that sales channel as a segment or as a dimension to allocate inventory, allowing you to, give higher priority to maybe retail channels than their wholesale channel, for example, if you're in the distribution business. So NetSuite keeps making a lot of good enhancements when it comes to inventory management and sales order management. The reservation order is a new feature that is also related to supply chain management that allows you to create reservations of inventory for certain channels. And you can see on the screen that there are certain fields that are required, obviously the item, the location from which you want to reserve, and then the sales channel will be another one. And once you enter this, NetSuite will reserve that inventory, and it's not a particular sales order, and then you can draw from that inventory using the sales order as an instrument to draw from that inventory and that sales channel. That way, you are basically taking your inventory that you have, and you, instead of having multiple locations and managing inventory by location for different channels, you can have one location and manage the allocation based on those channels, simplifying the order management and the inventory management process, because you don't have to keep transferring inventory between two locations. Finally, we have the order management dashboard, and this is a new dashboard that NetSuite has created with some predefined KPIs, portlets, report searches that allow you to visualize from an order management perspective, your operation in a snapshot. And some of the KPIs that have been added are, for example, average inventory value, current inventory value, which is one that existed, inventory turnover, sales turnover value, and fill rates. And you can see those here, and those that you can, at any dashboard, any KPI, you can change you can review dimensions and change those as needed. Additionally, it's going to be some links that allow you to view certain setups and data reports automatically, and those are all predefined in that dashboard. Now, let's move to Procure to Pay. So in Procure to Pay, there's a set of new features. The first one is centralized purchasing and billing. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about creating bill from item received, which is a long overdue feature of NetSuite, and also the ability to define default vendor payment accounts in the vendor record. Additionally, some notable mentions: if you have purchase contracts and you're using advanced procurement, there's an ability to when you're issuing an RFQ for your vendors, to set up a maximum contract amount. That way you can define what's your ceiling in that RFQ. And you can also now print vendor bill and vendor bill credits. Even though those are documents you receive from your vendors, if you wanted to print the transaction, now there is an advanced PDF transaction form that allows you to print those in NetSuite, just like you would print your own documents in a format that then you can present to other parties. So centralized purchasing and billing, it's if you have one world and you have multiple subsidiaries and locations, centralized purchasing and billing allows you to centralize your purchasing function and your billing function. And what this allows, basically what it does is you can create one purchase order, and within that purchase order, define multiple target locations. It's hard to see here, but on the right, you'll see that there are going to be target locations and for which you want that inventory to go. So just like you can have sales orders that have multiple shipping routes, Now you can have purchase orders that have multiple locations. Today, in the prior release, when you issue a purchase order that have multiple locations, it would create, well, when you wanted to buy inventory for multiple locations from the same vendor, you would create one purchase order per location per vendor. In this way, you can create one purchase order, send one purchase order to the vendor, and give them instructions to ship it to multiple locations. And what this will do is that when you're receiving that in multiple locations, the item receipt will be based on the location at the line level, where today is one item receipt per purchase order. So you can have multiple item receipts for the same purchase order based on the different locations. Each receipt will be specific to that order, like you would expect, because that's where it's physically received. But not at the not but you still create, you can receive it separately. Same thing for the target subsidiary. Subsidiary and locations are still going to be tied like they are today, but it allows you to also centralize at the subsidiary level, not only at the location level. So I think this is a very, very cool feature that will, allow companies that are buying centralized but still have to create multiple POs to streamline that process. The default vendor payment account. So today in NetSuite, you can define a default account at the company level. You can define a default payment account at the subsidiary level. With this new feature, you can define a payment account at the vendor level, which then allows you to not have to, change that account when you are making payments on the pay bill screen. And this works for payments and prepayments to vendors. So what will happen is when you're creating a vendor payment, when you select the vendor, it'll automatically default to their vendor, to the bank account that you want to use to pay them. So saving some steps in the accounts payable process. And finally, the ability to be able to create a bill from an item receipt. Previously in NetSuite, you have a purchase order and you have an item receipt, and the item receipt then you separately create a vendor bill from the purchase order. And those item receipt and vendor bill were not linked. The only way to link them was through the purchase order, and sort of a complicated process, not very intuitive. Now with this new feature, you can create the bill directly from the receipt, and you can still create it from the purchase order if you need to, but this way the vendor receipt and the item receipt and the vendor bill are linked. So if you want to compare, and do a better three-way matching process, this will allow you to do that. Moving on to inventory management. There's a host of supply planning enhancements. We are probably going to do another webinar in the next 2 to 4 weeks, exclusively to supply planning. There's a lot of new enhancements there, but we want to mention a few right now. There's a new enhancement for FIFO allocation. So if you're in the food and beverage industry, or you have items, or in any industry where you have expiration on your items, or you want to manage a quasi expiration on your items, we'll be able to allocate automatically using FIFO. There's a new pack station mobile application if you have WMS, and there's a new button on the sales order to allow you to allocate what's the best location for inventory based on rules. Notable mentions, we mentioned channel allocation, so just wanted to mention here as well that that's going to be a new feature, be able to allocate by channel. And as you know, there is NetSuite has been adding artificial intelligence to NetSuite very rapidly recently, and there's a new predicted risk vendor delivery performance measure, where NetSuite will predict based on past performance the vendor performance in the future, so that you can make decisions on supply, where you want to get your goods from if you have multiple options for those goods. On the supply planning enhancements, we talked about the allocation KPI scorecard. You also will have the ability to see the available inventory balance in the snapshot. And for those of you that are not familiar, there is a function in NetSuite that allows you to do a snapshot of your inventory. So in future time now, and it looks at purchase orders and sales orders, but now you can see on-hand inventory. With this new feature, you'll be able to see available inventory. So as you are allocating inventory to sales orders, you'll be able to see what will be available, not only what will be on hand. And this is related as well to the feature that was released last year to be able to allocate sales order inventory or purchase order inventory to sales orders. So if you have sales orders and purchase orders in transit, you can run allocation rules to start pre-reserving, basically not committing, but allocating that inventory from those purchase orders to sales orders, so that when that inventory is received, it automatically gets committed to those sales orders based on rules you created, before that inventory was received, assuring that the sales orders will have the right committed inventory, and with ahead of time. And we talked about sales channel and allocations by channel. So we show you the sales order, and here you can see that you can create multiple sales channels. For example, wholesale, OEM, etc., that you can then assign to your sales orders, and then NetSuite will do allocation and reallocation rules based on those sales channels. The FIFO allocation feature will allow you to, it's a suite app for the food and beverage industry, but it can also be applied to other industries that allow you to allocate lot number items based on that shelf life and what's first to expire. That way you can make sure that your inventory is rotating and that you're directing your warehouse to the right lot number when they're picking via paper picking or via WMS. And finally, the new packing station it's a touchscreen enabled kiosk solution for the shipping aspect of NetSuite. Prior to this release with WMS, the packing functionality in NetSuite was lacking comparing to some of the third-party providers that are out there. With this feature and with this new functionality, NetSuite allows you to do things like integrate with scales, obviously pick and print your packing documents, your shipping labels. You can have better traceability of who packed what. You can do things that you couldn't do before, like pack multiple carton orders all in one screen, have multiple shipping routes, and even share packing instructions from the sales order to the packing station. So when they open that sales order and they scan it, they can see any specific instructions that the customer or that customer service may have provided in order to pack that order. With that, I'll turn it over to Preeti to talk about Suite Analytics.
Thank you, Alejandro. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. This is Preeti Kondur. I'm a senior consultant with Crowe, and today I'll be talking about Suite Analytics 2021.1 release features. We see some notable updates in this release and are excited to have calculated measures and conditional formatting available to us. There are changes to some connect tables and columns. We will briefly go over that. There are updates regarding NetSuite IP addresses in Suite Analytics Connect. Then we have changes to phone number length in Suite Analytics column. Notable mentions are removal of some connect tables and columns, removal of password custom fields from Suite Analytics Connect, translation collections for user-defined text supported in workbook. Now, let's look at calculated measures. Next slide, please. What are calculated measures? Now, these are custom calculations that combine standard measures and arithmetic operations. Why do we need them? These help in determining values for order fulfillment rates, item price margin, or profit percentages, or variances over the years. What we have in this slide is an example for variances over a period. We are looking at sales amount for a certain date range. 2020.2 release allowed you to add measures, but there was no easy way to calculate it. This release, 2021.1 release, gives us the Create Calculated Measure button, which opens up an editor, or you can call it a builder, where you would define your calculation and add that to your workbook. As you're aware that the formula fields in Suite Analytics workbook function similarly to Excel functions, the syntax used in the formulas is similar to SQL language. it is important to note that formula fields apply to line level transactions, whereas calculated measure applies to aggregated results. Another thing to note is that calculated measure can be used in the pivot table and chart where it is created. If you want to use in a new workbook visualization, you would have to copy and paste the definition and it would work the same. Also note that you cannot use calculated measure inside of a calculated measure. Let's move on to conditional formatting. Next slide, please. Conditional formatting enables you to highlight your workbook visualizations results based on the rules defined. Currently, you can apply this to table views and pivot tables only using fields that contain number and string values, including calculated measures. Conditional formatting on a table view or a pivot table is automatically applied to analytics portlet based on the visualization. And another thing to note is that the fields with date values are not yet supported and does not differentiate currency. Next slide, please. Removal of some connect tables and columns. As of 2021.1 release, the notes _ system and notes _ system _ custom tables are permanently removed. Since 2017, the Connect browser has included the warning that these tables should not be used. These changes are effective when the account is upgraded to the new release. Do note that the Connect browser is not updated at the same time, and hence it will not reflect these changes. Also note that 2021.1 version of Connect browser is not yet available. Next slide, please. NetSuite IP addresses and Suite Analytics Connect. IP addresses of Suite Analytics Connect servers are changing, hence do not use them in Connect service. Instead, use the recommended domain name in your configuration, as this will not change even if the account is moved to a different data center. Changes to the phone number length in Suite Analytics column. This means that Suite Analytics Connect changes the maximum length attribute for values that return phone numbers in some columns. As you can see in this slide, the length has been updated to 100 characters. This release has also added some contents to dataset and workbook template list, like my transactions, performance management goals, and performance management reviews. This concludes Suite Analytics. We hope you will enjoy using these new features to analyze your data. Thank you.
And with that, I'll turn it over to Tapendra Singh, who will talk about the Suite Cloud Platform.
Thanks, Alejandro. Hello, everyone. This is Tapendra Pratap Singh, and I'm solution architect in Crowe with having 7+ of year experience. And today we are going to discuss about new changes and removal of few things in the new release preview. So today our release preview agenda belongs to Suite script, new security enhancement, secret management, REST web services, and SOAP web services. So we'll go with next slide for Suite script. Alejandro, next slide, please. Okay, so in new release preview, now we having a capability to debug our Suite script 2.1 as we are doing with our legacy debugging with using Chrome debugger. So we don't require to feel the way we are doing currently, the debugging with NetSuite debugger. So in this, we are going to have debugging our server-side script with Chrome debugger. Earlier, we only have a capability to debug client-side or browser-based script into a Chrome debugger, but now we have a capability to do Chrome debugger with our server-side script, which includes a user event script, schedule script, and suitelet. Also, if you wanted to do some on-demand debugging with SuiteScript 2.1, you can do it via selecting a drop-down in script debugger. So we will have a demo after completion of all these slides. I will show you the demo, how we are going to do the debugging and other few demo as well. Next slide, please, Alejandro. So another update for on the scripting side, earlier whenever we are trying to upload SuiteScript 2.1, NetSuite will not allowing us to upload it because of some verifier. It was throwing an error, and you can see a snapshot attached here. Whenever we were trying to upload a SuiteScript 2.1 client script, it was throwing an error. So we need to do some workaround via uploading a script directly into the file cabinet and then creating client script record. But now this verifier is no more, and you can directly upload your client scripts 2.1 into NetSuite. But you need to, there is some consideration. You need to make sure about your client or a user, which type of browser they were using. As client script 2.1, we are going to use ES6 plus syntax of JavaScript, or you can say it Emac. So you need to make sure, because most of the browser support this syntax, but some of the browser, it might be possible they are not supporting it. So you need to always have some consideration in your mind whether you are wanted to do your customization, browser based customization with SuiteScript 2.1 or not. Next slide, Alejandro. Okay, so we have a new feature provided by NetSuite in this release, and there are lots of many new feature, but I have selected these two new feature here. And this is copying a file from a file cabinet, one folder to another folder, and checking a custom password. In few of scenario where we have a password functionality, we need to store some kind of password. So we are doing masking, or we are doing encrypting with some algorithm and saving those encrypted algorithm and password in another field to check the password. And whenever someone is entering the password, what we are doing, we were decoding those password with the help of the same algorithm. But that type of work we will not going to do anymore, because we have a new capability or new function or object provided by NetSuite. So copying a file, earlier what we were doing, we are getting the current file context or body or data, and then creating a new file with the help of NLAPI create new file, or with the help of a SuiteScript 2.0 with file module. But now we have direct function and object, so we can utilize to copy a file in file cabinet, and we can use it with the help of file.copy function we have in 2.0, and it have a capability for conflict management or conflict resolution. You can mention whether you wanted to override the same file or you wanted to rename it. If you are copying a file into same folder, if you are copying the file in another folder, it doesn't matter. And the other thing, important thing I found in this release is the check password capability. So it is going to be a lot easier for developer to use a direct NLAPI check password or a crypto module function check password to directly check the password entered by the user. Earlier, as I told you, we were using some encryption and decryption, and then we are comparing, and sometime what we did in the past, we used just a text field, a freeform text field, and we were masking the password so that we cannot show to other user like sales rep or other. But now you can directly use password field and compare the password with the help of these two APIs. And next slide, Alejandro. Okay, so there is couple of security enhancement and changes or notice is provided by NetSuite now. So first is that you cannot use RESTlet with NL auth or a credential based RESTlet from 1st of January 2021. So NetSuite informed us that they are not going to entertain all those RESTlet which are created after 1st of January 2021 with credential base. So those RESTlet are going to be throw you an error code. If you have created any RESTlet after 2021 with credential based or NLauth, I would suggest you guys to change it to more reliable authentication like token based authentication or OAuth2. And this changes is not going to be impact the previous development what you guys have in your account before 1st of January 2021. And if you are adding your previous RESTlet, it is not going to impact you. But I would personally suggest you guys, if you have any RESTlet which is using credential based or NLauth authentication, please change those RESTlet or convert those RESTlet to more reliable authentication like TBA and OAuth2. And there is another notice mentioned in this release preview is NetSuite is not going to entertain these two algorithms which are MD5 and SHA1. They are going to completely remove these two hashing algorithms. So if you have your account and you have any script which is written back 3 or 4 years back and they were used MD5 and SHA1, so please update your script, because in my initial day when I started my career with NetSuite, we were using frequently this algorithm for hashing, as I told you, for password encryption. So if you have any old script and you don't aware that that script is having a MD5 or SHA1, please make sure those scripts don't have these algorithm and remove it with other algorithm like SHA, HMAC. So you can use other as well. So there were a couple of affected APIs for these like NLOBG credential builder, crypto hash log, and HTTPS hash log. So please make sure you can remove all these algorithms from your scripts. Next slide, Alejandro. Secret management. So secret management is going to be handy for both administrator as well as developer. Now you don't require to create any custom record to store your custom password or any password related to your integration. And if you are creating some kind of external suitlet where you are allowing your users customer to enter password and then compare it with your custom password, you can directly use this secret management, which is I'm liking very much this tool because it have capability to share the password in multiple areas. Like you can share the password in the script, you can share the password in bundles or suite apps, you can restrict those password for certain environment or employees. So we are going to see in our demo in the last that where this tool is and how we can utilize this tool. So, and you need to make sure that you will always use this for your password management or a secret management. And you can also utilize this secret management in while you are doing some SDF work. If you are using Eclipse, WebStorm, or command line interface with Java or Node.js for development of suite apps or a general customization, you can also include this secret management using a XML file reference, so that your customization will directly create this secret management object or record in NetSuite. You don't require to go in the user interface to create it. And it have a really good capability for audit trail as well. And we will see it after end of all these slides. Alejandro, next slide, please. REST web services. As you guys know, earlier we were using SOAP-based service, and from 2020 we have REST web services which were on the beta phase. And always I prefer, and so many people prefer REST services over SOAP-based web services, because they are easy to develop, easy to manage. And now NetSuite is moving much way faster on REST web services development side. So earlier we have so many beta endpoints, but now we have all most of the general use APIs or endpoint to use in our integration, or in if you are doing some development inside NetSuite only. So you can enable this REST services from enable feature in Suite Cloud section. And we can now have some endpoint like general availability records, which are customer, sales order, purchase order, invoice. So these are the most frequent used record in your integration. So you can now start integrating NetSuite with REST web services. And in upcoming release, maybe we are going to much more availability of records with REST web services. And soon we will maybe transit from SOAP-based web service to REST web service. And REST service is also providing so many benefits over SOAP. I have mentioned 2 points over here. First is field selection and enumerator field values. So for field selection, if you wanted to get only certain field value for a particular record, you don't require to get the whole record, which will increase the performance and timing as well. So you can directly mention you want this particular field for a particular record, and you will get it. And another benefit for REST web service now we have is enumerator field, and this is kind of a problem in NetSuite development as well, because sometime if we wanted to set transactions status, we need to go to support to check what type of a status they have, because they don't have directly internal IDs like 1, 2, 3 for the pending fulfillment, approved, or cancelled. They have sales order A, sales order B, sales order C. So that is another benefit REST web service is providing you. If your integration, you wanted to check what is the current status of your sales order. In SOAP-based service, it is going to give you a value B, but now in REST service, you can see whether that B belongs to which actual status, whether it is pending fulfillment, partially fulfilled, or cancel or approve. So you can mention whether you want a simple format. If that simple format parameter is going to be true, you are going to get a value as a B. But if the simple format is false, you are going to get a value as a B and text as a pending fulfillment. So you can directly utilize the pending fulfillment in your integration. Alejandro, next slide. SOAP web services and RESTlet and CSV import, we don't have that much update on these things, but there are a couple of newly exposed objects we have for RESTlet. Like for suite billing, it's really challenging for us because we have a limited records which are scriptable for suite billing side. So now we have a subscription term which we can do a scripting on those record, but earlier we cannot. So there are a couple of record like sales channel reservation, imported employee. For CSV import, now we can import planning item category, supply plan definition, planning rule. And for SOAP-based web services, another consideration, if your integration tool or third-party tool or any vendor which you are using, and if they are using SOAP web service 2014.1, this endpoint is now retired. So you should make sure you are now moving to another a new version, maybe 2018 or 2019, or if you wanted to use 2021, it is there. So you can use, so it's a spelling mistake. You can use now 21.1 endpoint as well. I'll end on next slide. I think we are done with the slide.
Yeah, so we're going to, we had planned to do a live demo of some of these features, but we have about 5 minutes left.
Okay.
But we'll schedule a full session for this suite cloud. There's a lot there that Tapendra went over that is pretty useful. What I'd like to do right now is gonna talk about some of the additional things we have, and then again, I'll promise Tapendra now that we'll schedule something to go over the suite cloud in more detail in a full session.
Definitely, Alejandro. And if you guys have any question related to my slides or any new feature, you can directly meet me. I will try to respond you as soon as possible. Thanks a lot, everyone.
Perfect. Thank you, Tapendra. So we want to cover a couple of additional things that are important, that are available in the new that didn't fall into any of these categories directly. One of them is deprecation of the suite bundle repository. So those of you that have created applications or have created developments in your sandbox account, and have used the past the repository to move them to production and keep those in the bundle repository, that is going to be deprecated. It's already been deprecated. So there's different ways that now NetSuite allows you to have that, to be able to move that inventory of development and keep it available for you to move to your production account. Single sign-on is changing. They're going to a more open ID environment for single sign-on, so that's going to replace the current outbound single sign-on feature. If you use enhanced custom transactions, which are the ability to create your own transaction type. So there's sales orders, invoices. Some customers have their own specific transaction type with a GL impact that they want to be able to create. NetSuite allows you to do that. There's some enhancements to those custom transaction types related to application to sales orders, application of payments, etc. If you're using timesheets, currently, if your employees submit a timesheet for approval, they can't change it until it's been approved or rejected. There's a new feature to retract that timesheet to be able to edit it before it's approved by the supervisor. There's an additional expense policy enhancement. So NetSuite in the last release issued the expense policy functionality to allow you to automatically create approval processes if your and reject expenses if they didn't meet a policy that your company has. And these are created via an expense policy record. And so there's some enhancements to that. And there's also changes to the way your account and role selection page looks like. So if you're already been upgraded and you have multiple roles, or in my case, for example, I have multiple accounts, you can see here how the view of those roles is going to change, where you have it by account, and then other accounts will be, so if you have multiple roles and multiple accounts, it'll be grouped and it'll look different. The UI is looking a little bit different. Also gives you more information on when was the last time you logged into each of those in this new view. Additionally, if you have Suite Commerce and Suite Commerce Advanced, there's a lot of features related to that warrants its own session. And Tapendra mentioned the support for additional record type for CSV import. And finally, there's a lot of Suite apps. You can see if you go to the release notes, a lot of Suite apps that have been enhanced. All the Suite apps, from the accounting Suite app to the banking Suite app to the food and beverage Suite app, have been enhanced with new functionality or improved functionality. So if you're using any of these Suite apps, do check that out. Finally, I want to take the last couple of minutes to talk about some of the resources that you have, at your disposal for new releases. First is the new release preview portal. We talked about it. It pops out automatically in your account when the new release is about to be issued or deployed. So please look into that, and you can see at the bottom different things like videos, release preview testing guides, and in the release notes, which are always available on the help menu as well. So make sure to check those out. The release notes do update. They're updated at least every week during the cycle until all the cycles are all the cycles are upgraded. Additionally, there's new release feature preview videos. You can see there's 28 videos for 21.1 available in Suite Answers, so do check that out. And finally, you have us, right? We do offer support packages. So if you're looking to learn more about the features or implement some of these new features, please contact us. We have a support process through NetSuite support@crowe.com. You can contact me or any of us on this call to make sure that we are here to help you meet all your NetSuite needs. With that, I want to thank you all. There were a couple of questions that were submitted, but none of them were very specific. So if you have any questions after we've covered these topics, please contact us, and we'll make sure to answer any of your questions as quickly as possible. If you want a specific demo of one of the features we talked about, we can also do that. So have a great afternoon. Thank you for joining us, and enjoy your weekend.